Free speech. Let's talk about free speech. This election is going to be about free speech, it seems. It seems like Guilbeault and Trudeau are after free speech, and they've realized they can't, well, with C-10 being held up and given back by the Senate, they can't get that done before the election. I've heard rumors, more rumors, that election day is going to be September 20th, and they're going to call the election on August 15th. That's the rumor. I don't know. I can't tell you if that's true or not true, but that's the scuttlebutt. Okay. With all that in mind, Holly Doan says Cabinet proposes a digital safety commissioner with the power to block websites, investigate anonymous complaints, and conduct closed-door hearings into legal but hurtful online content. Oh, hurtful, hurt. So, I'd have to preamble with, in case this hurts your feelings, here's what happened in the news. Maybe that'll be my tagline. Like, I'm sorry that this happened in the news, but it's so Canadian, right? Oh, we're sorry, but this might be hurtful. Trudeau government proposes commissioner to regulate harmful content online, harmful online content. If the Trudeau Liberals are re-elected in the upcoming election, major online platforms will be subject to regulation by a new government commission. During a technical briefing on Thursday morning, government officials proposed the creation of a digital safety commission that will have the power to regulate harmful content online. The government's proposal will create a new legal category that specifically targets online communications service providers, OCSPs, like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. These OCSPs will be under the authority of the Digital Safety Commission. They say aren't all websites like that? Right? Like, what stops you from bleeding into a private forum, or stops them bleeding into a public blog, or stops them bleeding into something like the Babylon Bee, right? This is harmful, dangerous content, and people took offense to it. Okay, well, it's a joke, and and so what, right? But now, anonymous complaints, people can create anonymous complaints, and then somebody can haul you in front of a judge, and they can stop you from doing all of the online things that you were doing. Further, okay, the government also lists pornographic website Pornhub as an OCSP they plan to target. This is smart, because what they're going to do is any opposition to this, they're just going to frame as opposition to the new online porn laws, or online hurtful content, harmful content online laws. And they'll use the public's willingness to go along with it to protect people who are being exploited, human trafficked, whatever. It's a reasonable thing to ask the public to support that, but they'll exploit that support and then get all of it passed. And then OS, as soon as you can justify saying this one website needs to be taken down, you can justify any website, right? And you can say it's not political, but it's political. COVID's political. COVID is being used as a political tool, and so this will be used as a political tool. This will do exactly what C-10 was supposed to do. And this is what the election is about. Will Trudeau win it? The polls say yes. Right now, the polls say yes. And win it by a lot. He won't be held in check by a minority. He'll be win it. The Conservatives, as far as the aggregated polls on the CBC goes, are looking to lose 20 seats. So, and the Greens, I don't think they're on board for anything, really. I think their party's they're gonna watch their party gains evaporate because of what's happening in their party right now. But anyway, the speech stuff is important, and they're telling us what they're gonna do. Like, this is intolerable. This is a total betrayal of everything that a free and democratic society stands for. And these people are going to sell it as, we have to protect you. And so in order to protect you, we have to remove your freedom to have expression on the internet, because you might hurt somebody. So, and it's very frustrating. Very frustrating. Anyways, back to this. The 5 categories of harmful online content covered under the proposed new powers will draw on offenses defined under the criminal code: hate speech, child sexual exploitation content, non-consensual sharing of intimate images, incitement to violence, and terrorist content. Under the new rules, content that is flagged illegal by users will need to be removed by the online platform within 24 hours. OCSPs will face hefty fines if they fail to remove the content. The government is threatening financial penalties of as much as $10 million, or 3% of a platform's gross global revenue, whichever is higher. Can you imagine? Just an unbelievable situation where if you run a little website and they say, oh, well, you've got a fine of $10 million if you don't take down all of these pages. I've filed freedom of information requests, and they've said, oh, because of COVID, this is really hard to get to, so we're going to extend it by 6 months twice. And now people who own websites are supposed to be at the beck and call of the government to remove content within 24 hours like that because somebody complains about it. This is an absolute betrayal by everybody involved in this. $10 million fine if you'd fail to comply. In cases of non-compliance, the new commissioner or the new commission could seek a fine from a company of as much as 25 million or 5% of the gross global revenue, whichever is higher. The commission also has the power to have telecommunication companies block access to platforms that are non-compliant. So they're going to block websites, right? If they say you have to block this content and then you can't or don't, they'll just block the website from the telecommunication companies, from Bell and Rogers. Okay. The government also said it also plans to consult broadly with Canadians before putting the framework into legislation in the fall, like they did last time, which they didn't do. They did not broadly consult the public. And when they consult, they handpick the people they'll consult, and they'll say, we talked to 47 people, and all 47 agreed with us, and here's what they said. To do this to all of Canada, right? Like, and who knows, 47 people, 150 people. There's no sample size that people are going to be happy with, just the blanket removal of their rights and the loss of their freedoms to be able to put up a website. Like, we're talking literally about ideas and book burning here. These people are evil, okay? They are not on our side. They are not on the side of a free and democratic society. That's for darn sure. Back to this. Quote, we need consistent and transparent rules for how online platforms address hate, incitement of violence, and harmful online content, Heritage Minister Stephen Guilbeault said in a news release. This engagement is a crucial step in proposing solutions for a safer and more inclusive online environment where everyone can be heard. Yeah, right. I don't believe him. He's a liar. On the definition of hate speech, the government says it will be referring to its online hate speech bill, Bill C-36, which has not yet been passed. Bill C-36 seeks to expand powers to prosecute individuals involved in hate propaganda or so-called online hate by amending the Criminal Code, the Youth Criminal Justice Act, and the Canadian Human Rights Act. The bill will revive Section 13 of the Canada Human Rights Act, which was struck down by the Harper government in 2014 for infringing on the free speech rights of Canadians. The bill would give the Canadian Human Rights Commission the power to compel citizens to cease online communication or pay a monetary fine. So you're welcome. You don't get any free speech. And if you don't listen, they'll fine you for it, and then remove your access to your website. The Elite says 2 of the 3 men charged with kidnapping of a 16-year-old girl in Montreal are brothers of the alleged victim. CTV News, Muslim girl gets kidnapped by her brothers and their friend. All men charged, but a publication ban on this story and no names. All are adults. So listen, how does this relate to the free speech story? They own the media, okay? These are all adults. 2 brothers abducted their sister, all adults, no names. Publication ban. Why? Because they own the information and they don't want people like me putting things together. If you scroll down, you can read the Amber Alert, right? And there's a publication ban, so I'm not going to read it. But if you go to the tweet and read it and see that the information is out there, but they're not willing to tell you about any of it because it goes against the narrative they want to continue to propagate in the country, to continue doing the things that they're doing. They are going to make what I do illegal. And when they do, I'll stop. But until they do, I'm going to keep going. But they're going to make make no mistake, they're going to make Canada Poly one of the websites that is targeted about the hate things. I'm sure they'll do it to Rebel News as well. I'm sure they'll try with True North. I'm sure they'll try with Andrew Lawton and all sorts of other people as well. They'll say you're terrorists, you're white supremacists, and you're propagating hate, and we have to remove your website from the internet because you're propagating hate. That's what they're going to do. And until they do, I'll continue to do what I'm doing. But this is where we're heading. They control it. It's control. It's about control, okay? Anything that doesn't go along with the narrative that they want to paint, there's a publication ban, right? If drug dealers are caught with a stolen vehicle in Northern Ontario, and their last names are inconvenient and they don't speak English, they're released because the Arab interpreter can't make it up north in time for their rights to be respected, so they're released. I reported on this in 2018 because of the drug crisis and the fentanyl crisis then, and people didn't care then. They're not going to care now. It's incredible, and it's killing people, and nobody cares. And it's all about control, though. They control the media, They control the legacy media. They control the news broadcast. Watch a news broadcast, you'll throw up. It's ridiculous. And they want control of the internet. And that's what this is about. And if the liberals win again, they've got it. They win. That's that. Game over. I like, people tell me you have to be hopeful. People tell me you have to not make your audience think that there's no use in fighting. Okay. But like, the problem is we're not organized. There's no cohesive message. There's nobody to say, yeah, get behind these people, right? Like, who? I mean, did you watch the 2020 presidential election? Even if there was somebody to say, yeah, rally behind this person because they're really, really great and they're really going to do what they say they're going to do, and they definitely have a chance of doing what they say they're going to do. Like, even if there was that person, with Dominion in play, and with Dominion in play, the likelihood of that person existing is very, very unlikely. And with Dominion in play, the likelihood of that person winning is next to nil. So I'd love to be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope the People's Party get, like, 15, 25, 175 seats. That would be cool, right? I wonder who their ministers would be. Whatever, that'd be fun. Sure, that would be great. I'd love to see Sloan's party get 10 or 15 people too, right? And have accountability in the House of Commons. But, like, the reality of the situation is very different than that. And this isn't supposed to be about rallying people. This show is supposed to be about orienting ourselves to the reality of the situation. And the reality of the situation is pretty effing dire, okay? That's the reality of where we're at right now. And the moves they're making, we just wait till we get to the forced vaccination section. Employers are playing games with employees to figure out who's vaccinated and unvaccinated. Employers are telling employees that, yeah, we're probably going to mandate the vax in order to convince them to go get the vax without them having to mandate it, right? Because I don't think they actually can mandate it, despite some law firms in Ontario mandating it anyway. There's all sorts of very, very concerning things happening, but it's very interesting, the lockstep nature of the attack on free speech. And while we saw Nova Scotia make protesting illegal. Ezra Levent is in Australia. Well, he's in Toronto, but his legal representatives are in Australia. And he says, I'm still up in Toronto. It's almost 1 a.m., but it's just 2:45 p.m. in Melbourne, where we are suing the government for banning political protests under the guise of public health. I'll live tweet a bit. You can watch the trial here. So he goes through kind of what's happening, and it's happening in Canada as well. And Nova Scotia, but there are other places where some protests are more equal than others, right? There are protests that are fully supported by the bureaucracy, if it's Black Lives Matter or if it's some kind of Antifa. Antifa can go and burn down a city, and that's not a riot. But if people go into the January 6th thing, the way it's being talked about, that's a riot? Like, that doesn't square with me, right? Like, the footage of those two things put side by side, one's clearly a riot, and January 6th ain't it, right? Like, so yeah, it's a very interesting world to be fed false information as truth, and then have everybody sit there and look at you strange when you say, well, that doesn't square. That's not true. That's not true. Very interesting. Recently, this is just in kind of free speech area. This is more control of the internet. What happened is 2019, the CRTC ruled that Bell and Rogers had to give certain access for third-party, like TechSavvy, third-party technology to resell their goods. So they had to set a wholesale rate, and the wholesale rate has to be less than the bottom retail rate, usually. And retail, the markup on retail in telecommunications is ridiculously high. But they say we have to build out our infrastructure and maintaining the infrastructure, and it's such a big country and blah, blah, we need all the money. Anyway, regardless, they overturned the idea that Bell and Rogers needed to provide that access to the third party people. Why this helps people, or why this helps the government maintain more control, because fewer people in that pool, the fewer they need to control in order to have compliance from the telecommunication company. If they say this website's violating our terms of service or whatever, the telecommunication company of Rogers and Bell aren't going to balk at that, right? TechSavvy might. So they cut them out, right? And I think that's how I think that's how the game is played, right? This is a business. This is the business consequence of being pro free speech in 2021. That's what I think. And I don't think it's good, but it is what it is. Tech Savvy says government should overturn the CRTC ruling, call in the Competition Bureau. Yeah. Do we think that will happen? Don't hold your breath. I hope it happens. I like Tech Savvy. I used them for years and years and years. And then I needed a gigabyte internet, and they can't resell the gigabyte internet. You have to go with one of the big guys like Bell or Rogers in order to get the level of internet that I need for certain things. So regardless of why, but anyway, it's unfortunate because that's another barrier to a true competition, right? Like when one company cannot offer the full package, I suppose.